Bills Mafia, what's going on? I'm Fernando Schmude, that's your leading the charge. And today I'm here to talk about Buffalo Bills football. Finally, the Bills football is back tomorrow with the Bills playing their first preseason game of the 2024 season against the Chicago Bears. It's gonna be the first Caleb Williams NFL action, and it's gonna happen at the Highmark Stadium. And honestly, I can't care less about it. You know what? Because I'm really all about Buffalo football, and there are all other storylines that I will keep an eye on tomorrow's game. So about Caleb Williams and the Bears coming to town and maybe fielding, uh, maybe no, it's definitely a very talented offense. We have some questions about how quick it's gonna translate to the NFL, right? Especially with the rookie quarterback and new pieces coming. But the only thing that I really care about it is how good this offense can be as a test for the Bills defense, especially in the first quarter when we should see the starters playing, and we have some question marks, some stuff, some storylines that I want to keep an eye on, and I'm pretty sure you have yours as well. So Bills Mafia, feel free to chat, to comment here in the chat, and to bring your top storylines. What are you more curious about with tomorrow's game? What you can't wait to be watching? What are your big question marks for tomorrow's game? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comment sections on YouTube if you're not watching live, if you're not live with me here at Rumblings Network. And let's interact. It's always a pleasure to talk Bills football with Bills Mafia. So feel free to comment, to interact, even if you're not live. It's always great to talk Bills football with you. So without further ado, let me start talking about my top storylines for tomorrow's game. It's great to be able to watch both Bills football back, and there were some news coming yesterday about the Bills playing the starters in the first quarter, including star quarterback Josh Allen. So I know a lot of people are worried about injuries and stuff like that. Yes, it's not never great to expose your franchise quarterback, and let's be honest, the hope of your or season is expose him during preseason games. But at the same time, it wouldn't make any sense to try to test this new Bills offense without Josh Allen playing, because, for example, a question that I was thinking about before those news came out: how much would Keon Coleman play? Because okay, he's a rookie and he needs the snaps, he needs to play, he needs to feel comfortable playing in the pro level, taking over and taking on, sorry, some good professional opponents. So it is important to have the rookie playing, but having him out there without Josh Allen throwing him the ball, how positive or how beneficial it would be for you to develop the rookie thinking on week one, week two, early portion of the season, because yeah, he would be able to play some quality snaps, but the chemistry part, the part of really gelling with Josh, it wouldn't make any sense to have Keon Coleman there without Josh Allen playing with Mitch Trubisky or or Bushell out there. It wouldn't help him at all to build that chemistry to be on the same page with Josh, especially in the early part of the season. And the same can be said about all the other new pieces on offense and the offense overall, because no matter if you play all your pieces, you don't play Josh, it's a totally different offense. And it wouldn't be beneficial thinking week one to not have Josh out there playing with those guys, building that chemistry, feeling those guys in real game situation instead of practice, trying to run those plays from the new playbook against another defense that don't knows they don't know you, they don't know what are you going to call, they don't know your offense from every day on practice. So it is important. I feel like it is important to have Josh out there tomorrow, and I wasn't expecting to see that, but it wasn't a huge surprise for me because if you remember early on in the preparation during the OTAs and minicamp, um, Sean McDermott used to not run practice in the last day of minicamps, right? He used it to practice for 2 days and then give a day off for the players for the last day of camp and mini camp, sorry. And this year it was different, and they asked McDermott why it was different in this season, and he was like, "We need the practice, we need practice, we need the snaps." And it's the same thing now during preseason. If it's a new offense, it's a new group, and they need to practice. They need the snaps. It's not about individual guys, right? It's not about testing Keon Coleman individually. It's not about testing Curtis Samuel or seeing if Khalil Shakir is going to be ready to take a step forward and to play at the same level he played the last part of the season, the last season, with more snaps, right? Increase the production, increase the snaps, and keep the productivity. I think it's not about that in preseason. It's all about having those guys playing together. It's all about having Josh playing with those new targets. It's all about those new targets gelling on this offense and building nice chemistry with the quarterback and with the other pieces, Kincaid, Shakir, Cook. It's all about the offensive line that had some changes, important ones, start to gel. So it's important to have the entire offense out there. And I know some people get nervous about Josh getting injured, taking hits, but I feel like it's when it's gonna happen, it happens anywhere. It's when you have to have a big time injury, man, it's tough. It's tough because it can happen anywhere. It can happen in the practice field. It can happen in a walkthrough. It can happen even with guys at home. It crazy. I've seen, trust me, I've seen some crazy stuff related to injuries, and yeah, obviously you don't want your quarterback out there taking a lot of hits, taking punishment in preseason games, but this offense they need all the snaps, they need some practice, they need to go to the season feeling good about themselves, right? They need to go to week one feeling good about themselves. Joe Brady already being able to see on the field a little bit of what he envisioned for this new offense, for this new group. So that's something definitely I will keep an eye on tomorrow. That's a big storyline for me. How this new Bills offense will look against an opponent, an NFL opponent, instead of in the practice field. We've heard a lot of great stuff about them during practice, during training camps. A lot of positivity. Now it's time to translate it against a real NFL opponent in a closer. It's as close as it gets as a real NFL action, right? Before the season starts. So it's important to have them out there. It's important to have the offensive line being able to get the push and establish the run game. It's important to start to see, obviously, preseason, they don't run the full playbook. It's more vanilla stuff, but it's a new offense. So we should see Joe Brady experimenting a little bit, like from the depth chart that was released recently, and even from the training during training camp. We could see that Keon Coleman is playing a lot of X and Mac Hollins is rotating there, even being ahead in the depth chart, but I don't trust it. 100%, I believe Keon Coleman will have more snaps, more production week one on. So, and then in the other spots like Shakir being kept in the slot, Curtis Samuel playing the zero. When I made my projections for the season, I was kind of expecting Shakir to take over the Stephon Diggs role and play the Z more often, and Curtis Samuel play the slot. But no, it seems Samuel is the Z, and he will move around a lot. Shakir will play more in the slot, and it makes sense as well because he's been so good playing there. So maybe it's not ideal to take him away from a position that he's exceeded at. So, but it's a great opportunity to see a little bit of what Brady's cooking, like with the condensed sets and okay, you have two slots. Maybe in a condensed set, two guys can look like a slot playing more close to the offensive line. So it's going to be interesting to see a little bit of this new offense. Obviously, we'll see a lot of more stuff in week one, but one quarter tomorrow, it's an opportunity to start to see what Joe Brady envisions for this group. And we need Josh Allen out there um, running the show, right? Otherwise, it's not the same offense. So it's the first storyline I will keep an eye on. And let me know again in the chat or comment section, what do you think about it? Please, Bills Mafia, hit that like button, subscribe to Rumblings Network channel, subscribe to my own Fernando Schmude channel. I need your help to reach 1,000 subscribers there for free. So help me out, subscribe to my own channel, support my work here at Rumblings Network and at Buffalo Rumblings as well. With my text, I recently just wrote about ranking the Bills players against their NFL peers. I had the defense ranked. Now the offense rankings are just coming out, and I'm curious to interact and to see your opinion about it. So Bills Mafia, moving on to the next storyline, other than looking at this new offense with Joe Brady and Josh running the show, right? It's still part of that, but I kind of expect the Bills to start the season without putting Josh Allen in harm's way so much. So I remember everybody is kind of forgetting about it, but Ken Dorsey last season, he didn't really have the green light to run Josh Allen often early on, right? And when he finally kind of got the green light, it was too late for him. I can remember, for example, in that Denver game was when I first saw Dorsey using Josh running more often. And how can I be so confident it wasn't Dorsey himself that was avoiding to run Josh? Because Dorsey was his quarterback coach when he was used by Dable running a lot. Dorsey was Ken Newton's quarterback coach, and we know Ken Newton used to run a lot. So it's not like Dorsey would use Josh Allen and take away the threat that Josh presentates with his legs. So I feel like being McDermott, Josh himself gave an interview recently about, look, I don't like to run. I run when it's needed, but I don't love to do so. And I don't really trust Josh there, right? But I 100% expect Sean McDermott, Brandon Bean, and smartly so, trying to avoid Josh to take so many hits and then avoiding him to run so often. So obviously, we won't see as many quarterback keepers and quarterback runs being called tomorrow. So that's one thing that I want to see, the Bills offense trying to run their schemes without having Josh as a threat running the ball, trying to work without this kind of threat. It wasn't perfect and it wasn't good enough with Dorsey last season. And Joe Brady didn't really have to go through this kind of process, because when he took over, he could unleash Josh and run him all the time. And we saw how the Bills' run game started to work so well, and the Bills became one of the best run rushing teams in the league. But now he has this challenge of being able to run the ball, being able to run his offense without exposing Josh that much. I believe if they can save him for playoffs and not run him as often, they will try to do that. But they saw last season that it almost cost them the season, right? Because the Bills were at some point in a real bad situation. So tomorrow is the first opportunity to see this offense trying to run their schemes and run smoothly without Josh as a runner. And that's a challenge for this offense, in my opinion, and something that I'm keeping an eye on. Obviously, going the positional groups, I want to see a little bit of the two tight end sets with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid work together. And then when coming off the bench, the big time competition with Quentin Morris, a guy they trust and already has some experience playing even as a starter when we didn't have Kincaid and Knox was out. and he took advantage of his opportunities, even being a mismatch against linebackers. He's a solid tight end three, in my opinion, a real good tight end three, in my opinion. But Zach Davidson is playing so well during training camp, and he got even some looks with the one. So Zach Davidson is a smooth, big tight end, good pass catcher. So it's gonna be a nice competition to see all along the training camp, and is just ending. Sorry, but all along the preseason, and tomorrow is the start for those guys to try to impress McDermott, impress the coaching staff, and be able to carve a spot in the 53-man roster. The running back room is another place where we have some competition because James Cook has been struggling with some drops, some fumbles, and that has been, in my opinion, what has kept him away from becoming a real NFL star. Because last season he was really efficient. He ran for a lot of yards. He caught passes for a lot of yards as well, an all-purpose yard threat. But if he can't protect the quarterback, and if he keeps dropping passes and fumbling the ball, he won't be there on 2 minute drills. He won't be there on third downs, and he won't be there late in the game. So it's hard to become an NFL superstar if you can't be on the field on those important situations, right? And we know the Bills trust Ty Johnson to protect the ball, right? He's been struggling with some injuries during the camp as well, but that's a guy that has done all the right things since he arrived in Buffalo, since he was elevated to 53-man roster, and he's the reliable guy on the group. And then Ray Davis is coming out and really impressing, and he can do a bit of everything, right? He's already a better pass protector, it seems, than James Cook, so he can take over, for example, Latavius Murray role from last season. But he also needs to protect the ball, not fumble it. He's been catching the ball well. So, how good is Ray Davis right now? I think he's pretty good, but how dependable he can be early on his career, that's a question that he will start to answer tomorrow, and it's gonna be fun to watch. So, and even coming from nowhere, because we haven't really heard about Frank Gore Jr. or Darrington Evans during the training camps or mini camps. But now with the real game situations during preseason, Frank Gore, Darrington Evans, those running backs need to show something if they want to make a run for a spot on the team. Otherwise, it seems pretty easy or pretty. It's going the direction where the Bills can keep just three running backs and maybe one plus receiver, especially thinking special teams and things like that. So those guys need to show something. Darrington Evans has been a returner as well in the past for the Bills last preseason. And with the new rules, it's something that we'll start to see during preseason, new rules for kickoff returns. Maybe Darrington Evans can carve up a space there after all this returner job is wide open. And that's a competition that I'm definitely keeping an eye on during the entire preseason. According to the depth chart, KJ Hamler is the leader there right now, but Daquan Hardy has played very well during training and as a corner, and has impressed. Has played inside in the nickel, has played outside. But Sean McDermott already said, look, this guy was drafted because of his return potential, right? And he's feeling more and more comfortable getting under the ball and being able to catch it and return. So Daquan Hardy has a path to the 53-man roster if he can beat Hamler there and beat Darrington Evans for the return job, especially with the potential he's showing as a corner as well. So the returner job is a nice battle to watch all preseason, and all those guys can offer a little bit in their position. KJ Hamler can be a that deep threat, can offer something in the slot as a wide receiver. Darrington Evans can be the fourth running back if he can become the kickoff returner. Hardy, as I said, has all the potential in the world as a corner. He's showing it. If he can be a great punt returner, it's hard for the Bills to cut a guy like this, a draft pick. We know Bean loves his draft picks, and I want to believe that Bean has learned from the past few seasons when he always has lost some of the guys that he tried to cut and stash in the practice squad. Other teams they haven't allowed the Bills to do that. We lost Alex Austin to the Patriots, and a guy was making plays against us, and seems like a really solid cornerback prospect. We lost Nick Brocker. We lost several guys that we tried to cut and stash, and I feel like being this season, we'll try to be more conservative with those decisions and try to keep his picks in the roster, especially with the Bills entering a cap situation where they need to be smart with their contracts and their decisions. So all those guys have a lot of potential. Hardy has a lot of potential in two positions. So I think for the best for the Bills is Hardy winning that job, right? And you're being able to keep a young guy, a draft guy. But I don't know how much McDermott will trust a rookie returner, especially in punts. We've seen how conservative, maybe is not the word, but how important for McDermott it is to be reliable when returning kickoffs and especially punts. We saw Micah Hyde lining up and simply fair catching, but guaranteeing you the possession of those punts, right? So it is important for McDermott, and I don't know if he will be comfortable with Hardy as the returner there. So it's important for the rookie to really be able to show that he's ready for that role, even as a rookie. And still in the offense, then the pass catchers. I think the battle for the pass catching for the wide receiver group, we know the starters already. Valdez-Scantling just made a huge play last practice yesterday, and for a lot of people, he was feeling the heat already without making plays, and then guys making plays like Tyrell Shavers, a guy that can contribute in special teams. How good really is Tyrell Shavers on special teams? I really expect to see him making some plays during preseason as a gunner, so he can really justify all that trust on him as a difference maker at the gunner position on special teams, and then making the minimum needed as a wide receiver so he can be a viable option in the 53-man roster. Justin Shorter, he's on his last legs with his opportunities despite a so early NFL career. There are so many players competing there at wide receiver that he needs to show something during this preseason. So KJ Hamler already mentioned. Chase Claypool has been struggling with injuries. It seems he's in trouble with his injuries, and all the momentum that he could build in the beginning of this offseason, it seems it's gone. So he needs to be ready to compete as quick as possible, and he needs to show as quick as possible that he still can be a difference maker. It's not looking good for Claypool right now. And still about wide receivers, Mac Hollins, because that's a guy that's listed as starter. He's obviously no starter, right? Keon Coleman should be ready for that role, but Mac Hollins is a guy that we've just heard great things about him all season long. We need to see something also during preseason now, especially on offense, because we know he's a good special teamer, but on the offense, we need him showing that he can be a dependable piece. He can establish a floor for this group. He can establish a floor in case Keon Coleman struggles a little bit early on with his inexperience. So that's important on the offensive side of the ball. Bills Mafia, please hit that like button, subscribe to my own channel and to Rumblings Network. I need your support. This episode will be also available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Megaphone, all the podcast aggregators, Amazon. So please download, play, rate it there. We need your support. I need your support. Subscribe to my own Fernando Schmude channel on YouTube and help me to keep producing content for Bills Mafia, not just in America, but for in Brazil as well and all over the world. So I really appreciate every like, every comment, every Go Bills in the YouTube comment sections, every 5-star rating on Apple, and please help me out, help the Rumblings Network keep growing, Bills Mafia. We are back with Bruce Exclusive. Other creators are also back with their shows, and the Shop Up will be back, and so support us. We need you. Okay. Marcel sent a text here, a message like, I would really like to see competition the kicker position. I have no trust in Bass. Besides him already hurting us in the playoffs last year, it looks like he hasn't been doing a good training camp. Yes, he's lost some kicks during this training camp. He's been really inconsistent over 50 especially. And the thing that I'm really worried about Baz is about his confidence, because he has the leg, and early on he always was a swaggy guy, right? A lot of people even poke fun at him, and oh, this guy is too swaggy for a kicker, right? He had a lot of swagger, and last season it seems like he's lost his mojo, like he's been so um he's been so much inconsistent, doubting himself, and culminating with the last kick that was obviously a deal breaker for our last season. So it's difficult, and Baz hasn't been really good during training camps, but the Bills are trusting him, right? And we haven't seen competition so far, and I don't think we'll see anytime soon. Barely injured. Let's see if he's injured, and then we could see somebody being signed. But so far, the Bills are trusting him, and I hope he can come in tomorrow and make his kicks and start to build that confidence up again, because he needs it, right? And it doesn't seem like the Bills are ready to move on from him. I don't think it's also. I'm also not the biggest Bass fan right now, but I think he can still play well. We'll see. It's important for him to start well tomorrow, make his kicks, and then build on that. So we'll see. We'll see if he's able to do so. Martin as well. He looked like he had a threat to his job with Browning, but the Bills already cut Browning, and Martin seems pretty safe as the punter. So hopefully they can have a good game tomorrow in Buffalo, and and justify all the trust by the Bills' breast, right? Moving to the defensive side of the ball, okay, and the main storylines there. I think the biggest one, and there is no way how to deny that, is the battle at the safety spot, right? There have been some news, it's not confirmed, like some rumblings, some rumors about Bishop being injured and out for 6 weeks, right? Those rumors talking about it, and people are starting to believe that Cole Bishop will be out for 6 weeks. So he probably would be back 6 weeks from now, like week 2, week 3 of the season, right? With a shoulder problem, right? So that's some bad news, right? Because Mike Edwards has struggled all of season with injuries, different kind of injuries, and looking at the release depth chart, Mike Edwards listed as the third safety, right? Or even fifth safety, because we have Taylor Rapp and Damar Hamlin as starters, Ken Lewis and Cole Bishop, and then Kareem Jackson, Mike Edwards. Having Mike Edwards listed alongside Kareem Jackson, a guy they just signed, doesn't body well for Mike Edwards, because he wasn't supposed to be in a competition with Rapp and Bishop for 2 starting spots, and being injured all the time, it isn't looking good for the former Chief. Um, Taylor Rapp seems very, very safe as an one starter. He was there last season. He already knows the system. He's a proven starter in the past with the Rams. Great tackler. When no McDermott loves some great tacklers, it's important for the Bills to have a good tackler in the safety spot, and it's hard to be better than Rap is at the safety spot. So Taylor Rapp is pretty uh, locked in as a starter and a leader of this defense already. Even in the communication part, he's a guy that he's taking over alongside Terrell Bernard, who's already the mic since last season, the captain of this defense. In my opinion, he'll be wear a C on his chest, no doubt in my mind, as the guy with the green dot on his helmet. So, but alongside Rep, Damar Hamlin played his way onto this role in the depth chart as number one safety opposite Rep there. Nobody had. I can't believe the Bills had Damar Hamlin as a starter before the training camps or when they showed up, even for OTAs, mini camps. Hamlin was down that depth chart, and I was even questioning if he would be part of the roster. But he's been doing great in this time. He is obviously a guy that has been there for long. He's the longest tenured safety in the group, and despite his athletic limitations, that's a smart guy, a guy that has been making plays. That's something that wasn't true about him when he had his opportunity in the past as a starter. Um, he was a good starter, but he wasn't making a lot of plays, intercepting passes, forcing fumbles, recovering fumbles. And now, during those this offseason, it seems like he's had a knack for the ball and intercepting a lot of passes, forcing fumbles. So he's been around the ball a lot, and he gotta show that in preseason. He gotta do that because I will tell one thing: there is one guy that I know nobody in Bills Mafia is high on him. A lot of people just can remember Justin Jefferson mossing him, but Ken Lewis is a guy that I keep talking about. Just, oh, Fernando, you're boring. Yes, I was boring with Terrell Bernard, and okay, it's not because I got it right with Bernard. I will always be right, and I'm not as confident on Ken Lewis as I was on in Terrell Bernard. But with that said, Ken Lewis last season had a great offseason until the point he got injured and missed the games during preseason. And then he played the last preseason game against the very same Chicago Bears, and he was flying all over, hitting hard, and to the point that I was looking at watching that and was like, who's this guy? Because that's different, and that was Ken Lewis flying around, hitting hard. He's a diminutive guy, a small guy, but he can play big. And I definitely trust more Ken Lewis than Damar Hamlin as a starting safety. Ken Lewis has been there playing a lot of snaps, and if not that Justin Jefferson play, a lot of people would be higher on him than they are right now. So I definitely will have an eye on Ken Lewis and how he plays during this preseason, because if Hamlin is the starter now, I definitely can see, and if Bishop is really injured and will be out for the start of the season, I definitely can see Taylor Rapp and Ken Lewis as your two starting safeties in week one. Those two guys played a lot on third and long last season when Jordan Poyer was dropping to linebacker. It was Ken Lewis and Taylor Rapp at safety, so they had plenty of important snaps during regular season last year and even playoffs. And I don't know, from what I've seen from them, I think Ken Lewis is the better playmaker than Damar Hamlin. But Damar Hamlin has played his way into this role, so I hope to see that on in preseason as well and made the best man win this job. Also, don't write off the veteran Kareem Jackson. This guy is extremely experienced, former first round pick, former cornerback for the Texans. Yeah, he's older now. It's even comparable to the Dion Jones situation with the linebackers, but there is a door open, right? So Karen Jackson can make the most of the opportunity. Terrell Burgess, the former um, Los Angeles Rams safety, also another possibility. A guy that is small, a smaller guy like Ken Lewis, but a guy that has some experience, former third round pick. And Didi Lane, I don't see him as a guy competing for a spot as a safety. I think he's more a special teams guy. So I'm not really factoring him in the battle here, but it can happen. And then, obviously, still about backfield, Kair Elam, Jamarcus Ingram, and then Lovely and Kieron Brown, all those guys fighting for spots, right? Kair Elam is a really funny situation because he's been so good during this off season, and he's even rotating with Benford as with the starters. And Kyrie Elam has the opportunity to really play well to the point that he can carve up a place, maybe in a rotation with the other corners, or he can play so well that he can simply build up his price, his value, and Bean can trade him even before the season, especially if Ingram, Lovely, or Kieran Brown, one of those guys, and Ingram is ahead in this battle, if those guys can really impress, play well, and show the Bills coaching staff that look, okay, Elam is a former first rounder, but I'm not really sure how much better he is than Ingram. So maybe we can trade Elam and keep Ingram, you know. So we saw last season Boogie Basham showing up big time during preseason, playing really well. For me, Boogie Basham during preseason last year was our best defensive end, and the Bills simply took advantage of that and traded him to the Giants. So if Kyrie Elam can really showcase his skills, I'd like to keep him. I think he still has a path on becoming a starting cornerback for the Bills. But I wouldn't be surprised if Bean goes that direction and trades him, gets some value, and moves on. Because even if Kyrie Elam can win that job, he will be due to a payday soon, right? So that's something we need to keep an eye on. But it's important for Elam to play well during this preseason, no matter the direction Bean wanna go. So linebackers, I wanna see Matt Milano healthy, right? I really want to see Matt Milano playing healthily as possible. He's been doing a lot during the training camp. He seems healthy, but he's not 100%. He's still thinking about that leg. He's still trying to move naturally, explode out of that right leg. And it's not as natural as when he does it with the left leg. He's still building that confidence. He's still trying to forget about thinking about the leg and just focusing on football. The thing that really hurt Von Miller last season is a thing that I believe Milano is in this stage right now. So it would be good for him to move a little bit around and feel more comfortable. It's not necessarily playing right now in preseason against the Bears, but it's important for him to start to build up that confidence in his leg and feel 100% like himself, right? So great to have Bernard back. Dorian Williams is a guy that I will keep an eye on because this is the guy that if we need in place of Milano and Bernard, and unfortunately, I really believe at some point during the season we'll need a little bit of a guy in Bernard's or Milano's place due to their playing style and their size. Dorian Williams is the first choice, and I hope he can take the leap and make the leap and become this guy coming in playing a high level as well. Nick Morrow has been injured. It opens the door. A lot of fight for spots with um, Dion Jones, the veteran, but Balon Spector, a guy that has been developed by the Bills but hasn't been able to stay healthy, and Eddie Olofosio also battling for a spot here with the linebackers and trying to showcase his skills. Athletic guy. If he can be a solid special teams player, I think that's another guy that the Bills wouldn't like to risk and try to put on the practice squad, the fifth round pick from this season, right? And to finalize, the defensive line, right? We have Austin Johnson getting an opportunity with the ones. Daquan Jones is out of tomorrow's game, and Austin Johnson will have opportunity to play alongside Ed Oliver. And let's be honest, we haven't seen anybody impressed every time we needed somebody to step up for Daquan Jones, right? Elian Cool has done the bare minimum to stay hanging around and being the third defensive nose tackle, but Austin Johnson was brought in to be this replacement for Daquan Jones, to be this guy that can replace him at a high level. So tomorrow is a good opportunity to showcase his abilities in his first ever Bills game. And the edge positions, I think Rousseau is pretty established. I think AJ Peneza gotta step up, gotta make the leap. Like he's a starter now, right? Von Miller, I hope we can see him. I don't know if he'll play tomorrow, but I hope when we see Von Miller, we can see a little bit of that old Von Miller again. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to showcase his skills when he gets the opportunity. But it's pretty clear the Bills are trying to save him for third downs, save him for late in the year. So Epeneza will be the starter, and a guy that might be able to make a run for Epeneza's spot is Dwayne Schmude. That guy is versatile. This guy is big, stout. He can play the run. And I don't have much confidence in AJ Peneza playing the run on early downs. We'll see. We know they rotate a lot defensive ends and defensive linemen in general. But AJ Peneza, I feel like he's a better specialist than a true every down edge. We'll see if he can take the next step and become this guy. Smoot is out there. And then Casey Hill fighting for a spot, with Kingsley Jonathan fighting for a spot, and my guy, especially Javon Solomon. I really want to see the rookie. I have high expectations for Javon Solomon. It's not fair to expect him to be a great player right now. I think he's a year away of being physically ready for what the Bills want in a defensive end. But he seems like a guy that is a natural pass rusher, and if he can play well against third stringers, second stringers, that's a guy that might find a way to carve up a space in the rotation, especially on third and long situations and so on. So those are my main storylines for this game, Bills Mafia. What are yours? Let me know in the comment sections on YouTube, or simply send your Go Bills out there and support my work here at Rumbling Networks. Also, read my text at Buffalo Rumblings. We are creating content for all Bills Mafia there. Subscribe to my own Fernando Schmude channel. Subscribe to Rumblings Network. Download, play, like, rate this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Megaphone, Amazon, your main podcast aggregators. You will find the lead in the charge there. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today, and let me know what do you want to see tomorrow from the Bills. It's always good to talk ball with Bills Mafia. Thank you so much, people who were in the chat here. Lucas was here, Bills Mafia from Brazil, heavily commenting here. Renan, Guilherme, Cola, shout out to all the guys out there, and Marcel. Thank you so much. See you around. I'll be back on Sunday with the lead in the charge in Portuguese, doing my post-game show. And that's it for today, Bills Mafia. Thank you so much. Next week, Matt Parino will be with me talking some Bills football here. So can't wait for that, and see you around. That's it. And go Bills, as always, Bills Mafia.